G'day footy fans and welcome back to Boothy's AFL Fantasy Dream Team podcast for 2018, and here's a look at the rules for 2018. So here we go, $12.6 million this year to spend, and all players who averaged 110 or more last year, as it turned out, either played every match during the year because they were durable, or they'd averaged 100 twice before. So there's a little tip for you. So the guys are going to do well, played every game the year before, or have averaged at least 100 twice before, okay? So some of the rules, in my opinion, are avoid Port and Gold Coast players because they've got a bye in round 10. Avoid second-year players because they rarely improve. Avoid 30-year-old or more players because they start slowing down and their average rarely goes up after 30 years of age. Avoid guys who have had a whole year off unless they are under 375k, so the mid-prices. They're not worth it otherwise. Like Natanui, for example, I think is barely worth it, but I'll get to that. Now, select under 30-year-olds who averaged 100 or more in the past 2 seasons. So if they're under 30 and they've averaged 100 or more either the year before or the year before that, a la Armitage, then get on board. And select players who did not miss a game in 2017, as I mentioned before, like Petraka, who played every game during the year before. So here's a good one to get in the forward line. And avoid players who tag or are known to get tagged in matches like Johannesson and even Rory Sloane, who is a great player but does get tagged. So here's some options for you in D1. So Laird or Yo, in my opinion, in D1. In D2, you could go Yo there behind Laird, or Hibberd from Melbourne, or Lloyd. I think Lloyd's a better option, a bit younger. D3 could be a Lloyd, a Crisp, a McDonald from North Melbourne, or a Salem. D4, now there's a lot to choose from here. They're all averaging about 70 to 72. McGrath, he's the only second-year player I'd recommend because he's so good and he's obviously the #1 draft pick, so he's an exception to the second-year rule. McGrath. Mills, who should do well in his third year. Hunt played every game last year, so did Maynard. Sicily, who looked great for Hawthorn, although he's a bit dearer. Hanley, who has averaged in the 90s and close to 100 before and is not 30. And Ryan Clark from North Melbourne, although he is injury-prone, that guy in particular. So there's some options there. Usually they're in order of what I think. Hibberd, the other Hibberd from North Melbourne, is a good option there, or O'Shea if he plays for Carlton instead of Doherty. You could O'Shea behind Hibberd there. And Keith has gone to GWS if he gets a game. So we've got a few guys who have injured or have left. He's from Collingwood, and Duday from the Crows, who plays in round 1. And they're both 170. M1, go Tom Mitchell if you can afford it. Dangerfield's another option. Josh Kelly. Or I like Matt Crouch at 107, who finished the year really strongly, averaging over 115. And he's a good age of 22. M2 could be a Matt Crouch. McRae from the Bulldogs, who had a great finish to the year as well. Got 37 and 41 possessions in the last 2 games. Rockcliffe from Port Adelaide. He's probably an exception to my Port Adelaide rule. And so is Hanley from Gold Coast. They're the only 2 exceptions. M3 could be a Rockcliffe and McRae, or a Fife. Fife is still under 100. He's 98 and he's a couple of years after his broken leg, so should be better. Parker's a bit underpriced, played every game for the last 2 years. Canilio's a bit underpriced, only played 7 games last year. And Ward had a great finish to the year. Isaac Smith from Hawthorn. M5 could be a Hanbury, who's a bit underpriced. Prestia, who's very underpriced. Lockie Hunter, who was 10 down last year on 100 the year before, pretty young. Redden from West Coast will get more opportunity with Mitchell retiring along with Pritis. Steele, who's up and coming, and Blakely from Freo, who's a prolific ball winner if he gets himself fit. M6 could be the old guys who've been injured before. Armitage over 107 2 years ago, and O'Meara, who's coming back and has got 90 before, so they could be good M6s. Angus Brayshaw, the #2 draft pick from Freo. Paddy Dow, the Carlton #3 draft pick, could be M7 and 8. They cost close to 270. Davies Unicky from North Melbourne is in that bracket as well, the #4 pick. At M10, pick a 170 dual position player if possible. Gawn is clearly the R1, who has averaged over 100 before 2 years ago. Zach Smith from Geelong's up and coming and getting confident, or Nankervis if he's the only ruckman at Richmond. And Longer is also improving from St Kilda. English is a dual position ruckman who's a bit dearer. He costs you 188, but he's worth it to complement. Whereas the Lob, who will become dual position early on after round 6. So you could go English, and then Cameron, of course, from Sydney is not dual position this year, but he could be a cheap 170 R4. F1 Menegola's the dearest. Billings is a great option. Heaney is going to be a gun. F2 could be a Heaney. A Dowhouse is a bit down, dual position. McLean, who's getting better. Roughhead from Hawthorn, if you want to go down that path. Devon Smith, who's gone to Essendon from WS, or Walters from Freo, but I wouldn't go down the Walters path. Just an option. Roy Lobb in F3 is the obvious one. Petraka. who played every game last year, getting stronger and playing midfield minutes. They reckon Sicily, his dual position from Hawthorn. Parrish, who's in the third year, played 40 games as a gun from Essendon, pick 2. Hewitt from Sydney, who's getting more midfield time. F4 could be Darcy Lang, who's gone to Carlton after 120 in the final for Geelong. Stringer, who's gone to Essendon, who's pretty cheap. And Christensen, who's had a collarbone, but he's fully fit and has averaged 87 before for Geelong in the Premiership, and he's still well under 30. Rayner, the number 1 draft pick, clearly in F5. Higgins, who's gone to Richmond, who should play in round 1, and if he does, he's good value there at 2.38. Setterfield, if he gets a game in round 1 for GWS, and pick 170s for F7 and 8. Now, if you follow one player from each of those positions, it should be about right, 12.6. Have a fiddle around. It's on the website now, although the app's not quite up and running. Good luck, guys, and I'll be back soon. Bye for now.